Hi, Internet people. I hope you had a lovely summer. I did. I had 5 Swedish weeks of vacation and it was lovely. So I really got the time to relax and just hang around and doing things that I want. And one of those things is digging into things that interest me. And this summer it was AI. So using some of my early mornings or rainy days, I decided to dig into things that I wanted to know more about. And one of those areas is AI. I want to see and evaluate how AI can be used in various concepts and use cases. What are the challenges, and are there any valuable or value in these use cases that consists of all of this technology? So in May, I decided to buy a secondhand PC with a pretty good GPU on it. And the first thing I did was flush Windows and install Linux on it. And turning that into an AI server that I can run all of the stuff that I wanted or test the things that I wanted to test. And my son is also in school to be a game developer. He's a much better programmer than I am, and he likes to do everything from scratch. And he builds his own all the backends and all the libraries and really dig into the hardware. So I thought it was be a good idea to buy a server for me and him. Um, so he's a better software developer or programmer than me. I see myself as an integrator with developer skills. I'd rather use existing packages and services. I only develop code when I need to. If I can't find, if there's no component that does what I needed to do, or the package or service, it does what it does, but I don't like it for some reason of the behavior or other things, and then I will develop it because I really want things to be intuitive into when the user uses the system or a user uses an interface. Could be an API or a user interface. My professional goal is to assist system integrators that need a customized solution to a system use case. If those components or if that use case is already solved by an application or something like that, but in many times you still need customization. My private goal is to have an AI assisted service that helps me in my daily life. Everything from communicating with my family, controlling my house, my home automation, software development, all of these things. And they already exist. A lot of them. I do use Home Assistant. I do use a lot of the messaging apps out there and things like that. But I wanted to replicate, or I want to replicate these solutions where the data stays in my system, minimizing leaking private information to big tech companies. So, what are the things I've been looking at? Well, one of them is looking into the public LLM. Most of you, I would assume, you've been using ChatGPT. Excuse me. Need coffee. And possibly other image stuff and Windows and Microsoft and Google, and everyone is, racing to provide some best, and they're good. But I found this tool. Let's see if I can just switch over here. I found this tool Perplexity AI that I really enjoy. And you can go to Perplexity AI and you can search whatever. So this will search the internet for the things that you want to have, and then it will give you a response back. So I just stopped using Google at all. I only, or I didn't use Google. I used DuckDuckGo. I only use Google when DuckDuckGo didn't give me the answer that I wanted to. But now I can search anything that I want, and I get the answer exactly how I want it in Perplexity AI without any ads. It's not like you get a tons of link. If I say describe CUDA, which was one thing that I'm working on, it search and you see the references, and then it provides you with an answer you want. It's not 14 links that you have to click to. So if you want to be using some of the public stuff here and Perplexity and using their own model, that's fine. But I like it so much, so I have an account, and within that account I can select which AI model I want to run. And I can use Chat GPT 4o since I'm paying and they are paying these model makers, so I don't have to have a separate account for each of them. But I really enjoy Claude in the software development and in assisting me in software development. But you can try whatever works best for you. So that's on the public LLM. Now I wanted to run this locally on my machine. And I thought it was going to be pretty hard, but it was dead simple. So there's a software that is called Llama that it runs on, in this case, I installed it on my gaming or AI server. Excuse me. And this allows me to run open source models on my server. So if you click on models, why didn't it work? Come on, there we go. So these are all the models that you can play with. Llama that's Facebook's public source. They've been criticized for having an open source AI model. I think it's decent. It's not perfect at all for all the stuff that I want to do, but it's getting there. Gemma 2, Mistral. So you see, you can use and download a lot of these models to run locally. Unfortunately, I haven't found any image generation, but maybe I haven't been looking that hard either. So once you have that, it runs these models on your GPU. And as a user interface, I use Anything LLM, which is an application that integrates into a lot of these LLM services, and including your local Llama. And then you can get to, let me go to chat, Yulene Me. So I can create a new workspace, test. And now I can just start, writing hello. And see the response. But the cool thing here is also you can have your own private RAG. You can upload documents to the model and it index that into a database, and then you can start asking questions about that document. That could be source code, or it could be a PDF or whatever. So I think now I'm running everything locally and having these. So now I can start integrating into this application through the Anything LLM to provide other types of clients that needs to use a local language. So then I got into training models. I want to use a server to train models. And since I'm working in cameras and image, I want to start with building my own capture, the image capturing or identifying something, a detection, a very customized detection model. And I started using TensorFlow, and that was a nightmare. The its dependency from hell. It I wasn't working, 8 hours a day, a couple of hours per day, but it took me 10 days to get a configuration working. It's the CUDA version installed, which graphics device driver is installed, which CUDNN version installed, which Python version is installed, and all of these packages. And I was following a lot of videos. They're great videos on YouTube on training your model and with source code and everything. And I was following these instructions. They were like, I don't know, a year and a half ago. Some of these videos that I was playing with, and but and you do everything step by step, and they're really intuitive videos, and you follow along, and then eventually when you run it, it just says it crashed in some obscure Python file, and you have no idea what that, I'm not a Python guy. Python and me are not very good friends. I'm Node.js, Node-RED, and C. And testing, installing, reinstalling, uninstalling, and testing all these variations. And it was just a nightmare. And finally got it working. So I was able to train a model and making it a TF Lite. My goal here was to install it in one of my cameras. And so I was able to build an ACAP and install it, but the camera wouldn't load it. But I didn't want to spend too much time on that. Maybe I'll do that. I'll get back to that after vacation time here, because now we're getting into more work-related stuff. But then I was said, okay, let's try YOLO 8, another package, and PyTorch and all that stuff. And oh my God, what a difference. That just worked spot on. Worked really well. So what's my project? I need to have some kind of a project, and I have an idea that I have a camera in my backyard, and we spend a lot of time in the backyard. I have my pool and I have my barbecue and all that, and I have me, my son, my wife, my mother-in-law, and my sister-in-law, and there are other people coming in. I wanted to see if I can build an AI model that would be able to detect who it is without using face recognition, because I also wanted to detect if the person is standing behind and or at side or whatever. So more of some properties around the shoulders and the head and the hair and whatever, and seeing, can I make this reliable? So that is what I was starting on with the YOLO 8. So first I need to have some scripts capturing images, and then you finally realize, okay, then before you train, you got to do labeling. And then I start, looking into labeling tools, and there are quite a few out there. And I downloaded, I think, 3 of them. I can't remember the name, but I didn't like them. Some of them are targeting professionals that do this at a professional level, and meaning that it can turn very complex very quickly. I want something that I can just start and it's intuitive and I can understand what to do. I just want to be starting labeling. I don't want to be, spending a week on, learning the tool itself. And then there were some smaller ones, but they maybe were too limited, or I don't know. I didn't give him that much time. So I decided, is it possible for me to develop my own labeling tool using AI assisted? And I decided to do this in Python. So building a Python web service, and and just type in, I'm building a labeling tool that that will, well, maybe let's see, I can, what I'll do here. So sorry, let's build. So I wanted to build a labeling tool, and then just typing in the prompt and says, I'm building I want to build a labeling tool in Python. It's going to be run as a web service, and I want to have these features. I want to have one page showing this, the unlabeled and label, and trying to get as precise as you can, and hit enter, and it provides me with a full everything, all the packages I need to install, and the backend, and I can just Python and start it. And then I go to the web interface, and there it was. Ugly as hell. But then you start, okay, from this code, I want to be changing. I wanted to have a more professional look and feel. Use I like Bootstrap. I could do what's the other one? Sorry, can't forget. There are a bunch of application libraries packages to make it professional and intuitive and all that stuff. But I picked one. I put Bootstrap, and add some Bootstrap to this, and then it started looking better and better and better. But then I start realizing that this tool is a really good professional, providing me with a code, but he lacks, or he suffers from Alzheimer. The memory is not that good. So you do your application, you get your the raw format, and then you start changing things, and then you run into a bug. An error is thrown in the output or whatever, and then you just take this error, the text, and just throw it back into the model. And Claude, I was using Claude for this, going back in and say, okay, you have to fix it, blah 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 blah. Okay, can you please fix it for me and provide me with new code? So it does, and then you just go copy paste, and then you start realizing, well, the bug is gone, but the feature we added 30 minutes ago is missing. And then you go back, hey, I'm missing that feature. Oh, then he replies, I'm sorry, here's it. And it gets really, really annoying. And you have to, start understanding that these prompts that you do, you have to do them in a certain way. And I think this is just experience on you see what is working. But since I also have a software development background, there's another experience when you're using a total AI assisted software development. Now, I'm doing this because I'm not a Python guy. I don't want to be spending, a couple of weeks learning the Python syntax. So I could understand when I read the code, but I wouldn't be able to, know exactly the syntax to do what I wanted to. But it doesn't really matter, because what happens is it's very similar to driving a car with a GPS to a place you've never been to before. And it will take you there. Once you reach that destination, someone takes that GPS from you and say, now drive home. You weren't paying attention while driving, so you would need to start guessing which turns to take when driving back. And the same thing goes with the total software assisted development, is you kind of lose the control of understanding of how the whole system works. So if you want to go in and make your own changes without using AI, it's going to take you some time because you need to start to dig into that. I haven't really figured out if this if I'm saving time or spending way too much time as I'm constantly iterating and telling it, change this, change this, change this, troubleshooting, error outputs, crashes. If I do it faster with a language that I know, I probably would. But now comes a comment with my son that likes to do everything from scratch. And he goes, so I'm telling him about this project and things. And then he goes, Dad, these models are trained, all the code is trained on GitHub. And 80% of the code on GitHub is shit. It's shit code. So you are going to get shit code. I have not really seen much of that, but he may be right that it's being trained on a lot of shit code. But please put it in the comments if you have experience in this, and if you want to have a discussion around this. I'd love to hear your view on that one. Going back, now I had my labeling tool, and then so I started using one AI to detect heads, or I think it was people. I was thinking that now I'm back into building my models where detecting who it is in my backyard. So I needed help with capturing. So I having a script, and I was using Node-RED, and I was using the TensorFlow stuff in there that detects a bunch of objects, just to give me a pre-labeled box of a person that I wanted to. I started, should I use the whole body? Detection is the postures, how, clothing and things like that. But I decided to just go on shoulders and head. And so now I had one script that would capture images and having a label file and saying where this part is. So running that through my labeling tool, and then training the YOLO 8 model. So I'm only running on my server, not running any analytics on the camera at all. So I trained my model, and to my surprise, I said, "Oh, I got my model, and it seems to work decently." But the cool thing with this was that when I did have the model that would know what I was looking for, because it's been trained, so it seemed to be very quick on identifying the shoulders and making a bounding box and guessing who it is. So now I use that model when I do the capturing, so I'll have a pre-label model. I know that the tools, other labeling tools do this, that you run the images through one tool to get the labels. So I could have used any other tool, but I'm still I had I wanted to keep the labeling very, very simple, like my mother or my wife should be able to run it. Not she's ever interested in doing that, but anyway. So now I have a model that works decently. It guesses wildly, but it guesses. I'm getting a name. Running that through the model training or the labeling part, and fixing the labels that it guessed wrong, and then from that train again on the same model with the all new images, and doing that iterative. So I train the model, I use the updated model, so it's getting better and better and better. Is it working? Mm-hmm. Yeah. The problem is that because there are so many, side or images, or back, you just see the back of the head and things like that. So it kind of does that. But so my goal here is I'll do this and I'll continue to improve it and running it for a year, because we have different seasons, people have different clothes, it's different environment, there's snow and all that stuff. And so my goal after a year of using all these images from a whole year, I will get a decent detection on who's on my backyard, or if it's someone unknown. Do I really need it? Maybe. It depends. When I see the results and it's working, maybe I'll find the use case. But I just needed a project to do the training, and that's the one I decided to do. And then I made a video a while back when I was using Voice Assistant on my mobile phone to search for recordings, where I would say into my phone, it says, show me all the red cars driving left. And that worked very good. And now I want to apply voice command or voice input into my system and my home automation. And I did try the like in Home Assistance, they had the year 2023. They had the year of the voice. So there are, a lot of teams developing for voice assistants and finding things like this, which is a M5 stack that has a microphone, a LED, and a small speaker. And using these so I have two of them. So my idea here is I can place them in rooms and listening into wake words. And I got really annoyed because you have to, I think it didn't matter which wake word. You can select five different wake words, and I go, hey Jarvis, or whatever I wake word. Hey Jarvis, hey Jarvis, hey Jarvis, 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 ding ding. Now it wakes up, and needing to tell the wake words multiple times was really, really annoying. And I do have Sonos, a bunch of Sonos speakers, and I have a Sonos One with voice input in the kitchen, and that works very, very well. So all cred. Even though it's loud and noisy, it doesn't work always, and it gets wrong. But waking up, it wakes up a little bit too much. If the television is, and someone says on the television it's close to Alexa, see if no, it didn't wake up. It wakes up, but they've done a really good job on that. And I was working a number of days trying to improve this, and then I just gave up. And then, okay, but instead of that, I have a very, very simple system that uses the phone, because the phone has a really good voice input, but just a simple button, just to trigger it. So a web application that has basically a button, you just press and it listens. But the thing is with the speech to text in these devices, like if you're using Google or Samsung, of course they're collecting information. And I don't really like that. So I'm following. Let's see if I can find this. Well, not really. So I'm following this guy on YouTube, Louis Rossmann. He was the guy that drove the whole right to repair. He's got he repairs computers, and he's getting all annoyed at these big tech companies and how they are operating. And in one of the videos, he showed me where he went into his Google account and he found transcriptions and audio files of him sending voice messages to his ex-girlfriend. And they were in an argument or whatever, if I remember correctly. and he's just started realizing that how much that, but he also likes the whole voice command thing. So he's working. I'm not sure how he works, but there's a company called Futon, and they do some great stuff, and it's all about privacy. So they've developed their own keyboard for mobile phones and with their own voice input and also multi-language, which I found that this works very well. And knowing Louis Rossmann and his view on things, I I installed that one. So now when I'm doing the voice input, I'm using the Futon voice command, and you can use this free, but I really enjoyed it, so I paid for it. They're really open about this. You can download it and use it, and you don't have to pay. But when people do good stuff, you should pay. So I started to do this. So now my idea was, can I have a button and I would say anything that turn off the light in the office, or give me a recipe to pancakes. Remind me that I have a dentist appointment next Thursday. All of these things as an assistant, taking the whole transcription, pushing that into my LLM with a prompt that here is a text-to-speech transcription. Try to figure out any of these contexts, if it's a reminder, if it's a timer, if it's a home automation, if it's a message that I want to send to someone, or have a bunch of things, and then output a JSON structure with the actions and the targets and the source and the message and everything that I can later push into different services internally depending on what I want to do. And I don't know, I spent a couple of days on that. And it worked sometimes and it didn't work sometimes. It was just guess. And even though I explicitly told it, just give me a JSON, no additional text, no additional, but he kept adding text. And here I've identified, and here's the JSON structure. So don't give me that text, please. I couldn't get it to stop doing that, but I could still extract the stuff, the JSON, and start going. But so the next best thing would be to have a building a web app. I can let's. So this is my web app. So now this one is running in a service, and this is also completely developed with AI assistance. But in this case, I'm using Node.js as the backend platform. So I added users because I wanted my family to use this. And this is all in Swedish. And that's one of my criteria, that even though I'm fluent in English, I still want to use my native language when I'm talking to my house or in my systems. So lighting, reminders, a shopping list, message, and then having a discussion part that I can discuss with the AI. It says, give me a hello world example in C. And this is just running my local. So this is a different way, but now I can, and that's the response. And I can do the same thing. Okay, allow. Ge mig ett recept på pannkakor. Didn't. It should take that, but it's not working. Well, I'm still developing this tool. Or that you can just easily just ask, that you can just ask a question and it will give you text on this page and also a voice output. Is this valuable? I don't know. I need to build it and understanding what part of this is valuable. and what is not. But that's a little bit around what I've been doing this summer, digging in. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I hope I inspired stuff. And please, you're welcome to contact me if you have a discussion, or send a comment below. And it's back to work, and I see many of you there, and we'll have great discussions with you when I'm back on Monday.